As we get into the 21st century, the pressure that the new generation of Chinese immigrants in America feel start to change from the basic needs for survival to the need for success, such as having good education, having better academic performances, or working for the work that require a better-looking diploma. To better illustrate how this kind of pressure are laid onto Chinese families in America, here's an interesting show named Fresh Off the Boat. The show talks about Asian immigrant families' life in America, and in this show, you can see lots of vivid presentations of this phenomenon in the screen.
没事啊。
Domino, straight A's, Moms! The one good thing about moving here is I have no friends and no distractions. That's why I got Grandma, what does Fonzie say?
Hey!
School is too easy.
Just when you think you've won the game, this trick done changed the rules.
Eddie, don't call your mother a trick. You need to make school more challenging, or else my son will fall behind.
I'm sorry, there's not much I can do about a straight-A student.
Well, is there extra school? Where is the closest CLC?
Oh, no.
What's CLC?
Chinese Learning Center, an after-school program for reading, math, science, and violin. Look at them, the innocents. I couldn't hear them through the reinforced glass, but I imagined it was the sound of childhood. Enjoy your stick, white friends.
I'm sorry.
As we can see, Chinese parents have very high expectations for their children and attach especially great importance to their kids' performance at school. Just like what the mother in the show said, there's always a fear of falling behind for them. And when their intense ideas of education conflict with the relatively more relaxing style of education at American schools, they start to use methods outside schools, such as Chinese Learning Center and family education, to make sure their children have good grades.
We're doing CLC.
But there aren't any in Orlando.
Well, there is now. Homeschool CLC. I will be your teacher.
Here is a documentary as an example from the YouTube channel named Asian Family Education, which can show us the real cases of the pressure that Chinese immigrant children really feel when they are pressured to perform well at American schools.
All parents, especially Chinese parents, want the children go to Harvard. My mother is a traditional woman. I'm a traditional woman. When I was a child, I just did what she told.
Dad started to teach her math when she was 1.5 years old. After about 4 months, she could do fraction, decimal, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division.
They wanted me to excel in school, so they started preparing me at a very young age. Both of my parents didn't finish high school because of the Cultural Revolution. I was born here, so I should be able to get into a really good school and have all the opportunities that they didn't have. It's really important to my parents that I attend an Ivy League college.
As we can see from the video, many Chinese immigrant parents regard America as a valuable opportunity where their children can earn a better future. Many of them came to America when China was poor and lacked education resources, so they definitely want their children to make use of America's resources instead of wasting this good opportunity. So driven by this kind of especially high expectation for their children's success, these parents start to naturally use especially strict education on their children.
Time. Eddie, focus! Okay, I need to start making dinner. Evan, you make sure that everyone does their CLC.
Okay, teacher mommy.
A famous example here is the example of Tiger mother Amy Chua. She published a memorial about how she used tough love parenting to make sure that her children succeed not only at school but also prepare well for the future career. Here is a little interview where Amy Chua takes more in details about how she educated her children.
I think that Western parents do worry so much more about their children's psyche and their self-esteem, whereas Chinese parents, but again, I think it's more of a sort of immigrant thing, they assume strength rather than fragility, and as a result, they behave very differently. I think they're higher expectations. Yes, and so example, when you come home with a bad, here's one example. My daughter Lulu came back with a bad math test when she was about 10, and she said, "I'm terrible at math. I hate math." And I think a lot of Western parents might say, "That's okay, honey. You don't have to be good at math. A lot of people aren't good. We'll find something else for you." But I went the Chinese way. I said, "No way." And I made all these practice tests. I hand wrote them. We drilled them for a week. And it only took a week. The next test she did very well on. And after that, her friends started calling her a math whiz. And now it's one of her favorite subjects.
This kind of Chinese style of street education, shown by the tiger mother phenomenon, is actually very common among Chinese immigrant families in America. Here's a part of the interview from the Jubilee Project named Voice episode, where Asian American students talk about their mothers as tiger moms.
What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear tiger mom?
It's like tough,
overbearing, fierce.
like no nonsense,
strict. Strict as hell.
I think of my mom.
My mom?
My mom?
A little bit of my mom.
I had a tiger mom, 100%.
A tiger mom is an Asian American mom that holds her kids to really, really high standards.
The most important thing is being smart and doing well in school.
My tiger mom was essentially just always pushing you to be excellent.
Actually, they expect more than the best from you. They have an ideal of what you should be, and you should meet or beat it.
If it's an A-, why don't you get an A? Or if I got 100%, she'd be like, was there no extra credit points?
She chased me with the broom one time down the street because I wasn't doing my homework.
If I wanted to go out with my friends, I'd have to request to go out a month in advance.
I had to do this math test or whatever, and then if I didn't get every question correct, I would have to do it again, and it was like 100 questions.
This kind of tough love parenting can cause lots of problems and conflicts. First of all, these Chinese students need to go to American schools to be educated in Western way and then come home to face their Chinese parents' very different styles of education. Apart from that, there are also common problems that can be faced by the other children who are facing the tough love parenting, such as too high burden of stress, less time for developing individual personalities and hobbies, or less feelings of happiness.
Do homework, eat, sleep, and then it starts over. There's very little change. A typical nerd. It's very hard right now. I'm very stressed out.
My mom and dad expect me to set a very good example for my brother and sister and to uphold excellence in academics at school. I'm not going to be able to make it. I was a friend who just called to see if I could do anything today, but I can't go out because my dad won't let me, so I'm just going to stay home and study.
We want her to be happy, but we can't just say, okay, do whatever.
You can't argue with a stubborn Chinese man.
When she said, can I have a party? I said, no, your top priority now is getting into one of the schools. I'll give you a list for your application, which day to do what. You and I agree, and you make sure you follow on that. But I'm away for 5 weeks. Nobody will yell at you. But
Mom will.
Mom will, okay. I hope you will yourself.
For what?
As their parents' expectations for them are getting higher and higher, the stress that Chinese immigrant families' children feel actually not only comes from their parents' push, but also from a relatively more hostile environment, where it's harder and harder for them to get admitted to the good schools.
Some Asian American groups say that race-based affirmative action policies actually hurt their chances of attending top colleges. The groups filed a complaint with the federal government in 2015, alleging that Harvard discriminates against Asian American applicants. In order to get into America's top universities, Asian American students' SAT scores had to be 140 points higher than white students, 270 points higher than Hispanic students, and 450 points higher than black students.
While it still remains controversial whether this is a case of discrimination, we at least know that the environment did make it harder for Chinese immigrant families' children to get admitted to good schools. As we can see from these video materials, the pressure that the Chinese immigrant families' children face in America is huge, and it's not only from their parents' push, but also from the environment where it's harder and harder for them to get admitted to the good schools. It's a kind of traditional ideologies which encourage Chinese immigrant families' children to design their academic objectives around the needs of their family and community members. Besides, these children are always especially conscious of the difficulties that their parents have faced to provide financial stability for the family because of the culture and language limitations. Therefore, these children always feel more obliged to gain success to not let their parents down and to improve families' financial conditions. Maybe it's because of these cultural, ideological, and social factors, and also because of American colleges' admission policies that make things harder for Chinese immigrants. Many of the younger generation of Chinese immigrant children, instead of hating their parents, said that they start to understand and even agree with their parents' way of education after growing up.
Now that I'm older, I definitely appreciate the way my mom raised me.
I think my mom raised me this way because she didn't have the opportunities growing up herself to have a better education and be the person she wanted to be.
It ultimately comes because of love. You know, they love us so much that they want us to do the best.
Now I do realize that back then, she would have been proud of me regardless of the grades that I got.
Thinking about it as an adult, that's love. It's tough love.
The older you get, you realize it also has a lot of benefits having a Tiger Mom. It kind of instills you with a really good work ethic.
I'm such a better person for it today, and my work ethic and my drive today is all thanks to her.
And when it comes to whether they will become Tiger mothers themselves in the future, although they grew up in America and studied at American schools, many of them say that they will very probably use some part of Tiger mother style of education for their own children in the future.
Ultimately, do you think that you'll become a Tiger mom?
Yes.
Probably. I'm probably gonna be like a semi-Tiger mom.
With my own son, I'm actually a Tiger dad.
I think I'm going to become a Tiger mom because that's the only way I know how to raise a child.